like we're live. I'm going to just count it down really quickly from 3 and 2 and 1, and we are live again. Welcome. Welcome to Season 2 of the live stream show. This is the Kickoff stream, and I am being joined by... Oh, interesting. Hang on a second. I must have this thing open where I've got to turn that off. Oh, well. That was my browser giving me myself in about a 30-second delay into my ears. Super distracting. So today is the kickoff to Season 2. And you might be saying, what is Season 2? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm being joined by Linda Morrison, who is, hang on a second, gotta get this right. She's right over here. Let's see, there we are. Welcome, Linda.
Hi everybody.
So,
Good morning.
Linda and I have been co-hosting a program together, and it's gotten to be so much fun that I thought bringing her on the show would be a good idea, and for a couple of reasons. One is that Linda is this very experienced online coach. She's been actually doing a couple of different kinds of coaching over the last, how long has it been, Linda? 15 years?
30, long time.
30 years,
Long
okay,
time.
30 years. And she's basically created multiple six-figure businesses very successfully as a single mother. And so, you know, when I posted this stream today, the title, the question I'm asking is, why do most businesses fail? Which is an unfortunate statistic. And I'd like to, just as a way to start this whole season and to give you guys an idea of like what's to come, I thought we could talk about something that most people actually don't talk about, which is the specter of failure. And what's going on there, and what are the things that we can be paying attention to increase our odds, increase our chances to actually beat the statistics, to beat the odds, and be successful, be a success. And what does that even look like? So that's my opening for today's discussion. And if you're here, say hello. I'd like to see where you're coming in from. Linda is in Australia, so it's morning time there.
It is. It's quite
And
early.
let me just,
You're the first person I've spoken to.
Right. It's a great way to start the day. So let me just
That's
hit that
it.
intro right now. Boom. Recorded live in Boston, Massachusetts, this is the Livestream Show. In a world full of underexposed entrepreneurs, the Livestream Show is your gateway to a global community of live stream pioneers who dare to go live and create something special and unexpected, which could only happen because it was live. I'm your host, Brad Powell. Let's get on with the show. And we're back. So,
Lovely.
a number of things are fairly obvious. One is I'm going to have to redo that intro video, get some pictures of Melbourne, Australia in there. And the other thing is that Season 1 was really focused on video, live streaming, gaining exposure through this particular medium, which is my passion. It's something I deeply believe is one of the answers to the question of how can you beat the odds these days? Going live is probably one of the simplest ways. And this season, we're going to go deeper and broader at the same time. And the idea is to be talking to, we're going to, every time we go live, hopefully, we'll have a new guest. And we'll be talking to them about their journey in facing challenges and finding creative solutions. And as entrepreneurs, this is basically the thing that we really have to cultivate, is our means by which we can creatively face challenges and all the skills that go along with that. Like, what are the different kinds of skills? What are the different many hats that you need to wear to creatively face and overcome the challenges of being an entrepreneur, being somebody who's maybe running your business all by yourself? So if you are, we're looking for guests. So if you happen to be, let's say, an online coach, or you're a course creator, or you have, you may be a thought leader in a certain expertise, and you have a story to tell, or maybe many stories to tell, of creative solutions, creatively facing the challenges in running your business, we would like to talk to you and share those stories. That's the path and the journey that we're on. And the idea is to build a community of people who are really caring about the work that they do and are here to make a difference. And as a community, to support every one of us in doing that and finding the tools and the methods and the mindset to get not only where we want to go, but actually to be able to serve all the people who deserve, what you have to offer. So here we go.
Yeah. I'm excited. I am
Yeah.
excited.
So I was thinking in the realm of failure, I have two things to share. One is basically a practical suggestion, and then the other one, which I thought we could do together, Linda, is go over a set of questions that entrepreneurs can be asking themselves on this topic.
Yes.
And so the first of these comes from James Altucher. And James is an author. He's a super successful entrepreneur. He's grown many businesses that have been sold for millions of dollars, and he's failed a bunch of times. Like, he's made a lot of money, and then he lost all the money, and then he made a lot of money, and then he lost a lot of money. And he's been up and down and up and down. And in this process, one of the things that he's learned, apparently he's learned how to hang on to some of his money. So he seems to be doing rather well at this point in time. But he also has learned how to start from zero, post failure, start from absolute zero, take on, actually go into a whole new field and then grow quickly. And so one of the things that he says, and this is why I want to share it, sort of this, one of the stories that we've been told about how to succeed is you have to put in your 10,000 hours, and you have to practice and get better and grow, really put in the time, which is mostly true. Definitely that can help. But he's saying, what if, and he wrote a whole book about this, what if you could skip the line? What if you could jump ahead in less time?
Yeah.
And what are the methods that would get you there? And the one method that I want to share that he talks about a lot is what he's calling experimentation. And this actually has to do with failure. So when you do something and it doesn't work, you try something out. In fact, this is the whole strategy. As you're growing your business, as you're trying to figure out how to make your work go the best way it can, no matter what part you're working on, whether you're, writing a newsletter, or whether you're building a marketing funnel, or whether you're working with clients, or whether you're doing an in-person meeting with people, or any number of things that you might actually do, all of these things are experiments, and you want to treat them like an experiment where you go in with,
Exactly.
I have a theory of what could happen. And if it doesn't go the way you thought, which in most cases, almost every case, there'll be something that goes in a different way. it's sort of like you sit down and you go, okay, well, what can I learn from this? Like, what did I learn having tried this experiment? And then kind of what's next? Like, what's my next experiment? Take the thing that you learned and then try it again. And in all of this way, you're failing and learning and trying again repeatedly and rapidly without any of the stuff in your head going, oh, I failed, or oh, I am a failure, even worse.
Exactly. Yes, fail fast, fail well, but have so many good things in your funnel going on that you pull in the next thing, you pull in the next great thing. And being honest, I love that you've actually said all of that, but being completely honest is really important too. So sitting with it, just going, I tried and failed. I remember asking my daughter when she was 5, what's failure? And she said, it's learning, mummy, of course. You know, of course it's learning. So if a kid gets it, then certainly adults need to really take that on. And entrepreneurs, it's the entrepreneur's way. We're gathering data all of the time. These are new times. And we haven't done it often, we haven't done it before, but success does leave clues and allows us the direction in which we are needing to go, and expanding really out on that and taking flight with it, but each day checking in and seeing where the data is. My first degree is sociology, so taking in data about the way a person operates in this moment in time. And of course, 2020, 2021 have given us a really nice template to learn lots of new things. And taking in the data at the moment is really important. Writing it down. I know that sounds very scientific, and I certainly don't do it that way, but I do take lots and lots and lots of notes about what's working, what people are responding to, what they're enjoying. I ask them, I'm constantly asking them, what do you feel that you need? Where do you feel that you need the support at the moment? And the reason that Brad and I are bringing together this, fantastic interview series and great services for you guys to expand within and around is that being a solo entrepreneur can be quite lonely. You grow fairly fast when you do well, and you might not be relevant to your current set of friends anymore. So you need a community where you are understood. Is that is do you feel that's important, Brad? You need a real community where you feel understood.
Absolutely. I mean, I think
What it,
uh, it's one of the. I mean, especially now, like in the last year, we've all been feeling isolated to varying degrees and pretty severely. I mean, I can't think of a time where, I mean, the whole entire world has been shut down in a whole bunch of ways. That's been very distressing. And so
yeah,
not only are we isolated, but there's a lot of extra stress. And so right now, people are feeling way more than ever that they want to reach out and interact with other people. And so we can do that ourselves, like us business folk can gather together and help each other out. And, in the past, I've been in groups that meet regularly in person. I've been in groups that were more like masterminds. I've been in groups that met like maybe 3 times a year in large numbers, that kind of thing. And virtually, I mean, in the last year, a lot of us have discovered that meeting virtually and meeting with people all around the world can happen pretty easily and
yeah,
pretty regularly. And it's all a new thing. Like in the online business world, if your business is online, the level of innovation is constant and seems to be accelerating.
yes,
So every time, like every week, there's new things to be paying attention to, or maybe there's new things to be, not paying attention to let go of. And if you're doing all of that on your own, there's no way to keep up. And
no,
so, with all the different things that different people can be experimenting, and then they can be reporting back and say, well, here, I saw this thing, it looked pretty good, I tried it out, and here is what happened. And we can all benefit from that. And for,
Mm.
my own field, video, the innovation is huge. And, I do my best to try to be on the leading edge of things that are happening with online video. And I love it. Like, it's super creative. However, it's so good to be in with other people who are also experimenting with using video in different ways to communicate and get your message out and to connect with the audience who you want to be serving. And some of the very best things, especially with live video, that are going to happen haven't happened yet. Like the coolest stuff and the
Yeah.
coolest ways, like how to do a show like this,
Yeah.
where this is an experiment. This is something we're going to play with, and we'll be letting you know how it goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it will be when these interviews come up, they will be um, time appropriate because we are all pressed for time when we come onto our computer. I know there's days where I am loathed to turn on the computer again because we spend so much time um, expanding our businesses through the computer. That's where it is now. Um, so when we do these interviews, they will be heartfelt. You will get some really amazing gems of information about what is working that these entrepreneurs are doing now, what they've experimented with in the past, perhaps what they're doing right now. They'll teach you a couple of things about their area of expertise, and then we'll really learn how they keep themselves really well in on the creative lane, because that's something that me as an entrepreneur, I'm extremely interested in. I am a fitness coach way back from ever ago. I say I have a fitness background. So I understand how important it is to stay really fit and healthy because you are much sharper. You come up with um, creative solutions quicker. You are able to make decisions quicker. And the faster and more effective that you're able to move as an entrepreneur, the bigger your business will grow. And of course, as we've spoken of, you're not always going to get all the moving parts correct every time. So you'll fail a little bit faster and you'll get to the gold a little bit quicker. And everybody wants that because time is our greatest resource. Time and money, very important in business, but also in life. We don't want to burn out these wonderful entrepreneurs before they've had an opportunity to change thousands of lives across the world, and that's why we're here to help that.
Yeah, you know, the whole community aspect, these episodes are all going to be live, which means that if you join us live, and we're going to do them at this same time, it'll be 5 p.m. Eastern Time in the US, 7 a.m. if you happen to be living in the eastern part of Australia. And so this will be the time, and we're going to do these as regularly as we can. And when a guest comes on who has a particular thing that you're interested in, you'll be able to join us and actually interact directly with all three of us, which is cool. Like, that's the whole idea. Like, this is the community
Amazing.
aspect that we are hoping for. And if your method of consuming content is not conducive to watching videos, that's cool, because all of these episodes will be turned into an audio podcast, which then you can get on your favorite podcast app and listen to whenever you're doing anything else you're doing, like walking your dog or going to the gym or driving your kids to soccer practice, any of those things. So we're trying to make the things that we're talking about, this discussion, this conversation, as accessible as possible. And just for example, right now, we're multicasting. So if you happen to be on LinkedIn, we're there. And if that's your favorite platform, we're going to meet you and join you there. But we also have friends on YouTube, so we're streaming there as well. And we also have friends on Facebook. So we're on all three platforms. You can join us in the online environment that you prefer, which is so cool. So I thought I have these questions, and we'll get into this. This comes from Seth Godin, and I don't know about you, but I'm influenced by Seth Godin. I think,
Been a fan for a long time. Yeah, he's very, very helpful. Very helpful. Mm.
yeah. So he is super prolific in a bunch of ways. One of the ways is that he writes a blog post every single day, and he's been doing this since I think the 1990s. It's been
Mm.
amazing. And of course, he's parlayed this kind of writing into book publishing. And I think he's got 30 books. It's some really big
Mm.
number like that. And many of them, it's like 27 of them have been bestsellers. So very successful
Mm.
author, super prolific. Anyway, this is a blog post that he wrote in just this past week. These are 5 useful questions. And I think they relate very directly to this issue of failing and
Mm.
looking at it like even failing often and reframing it to like, okay, now how do I do it? And this, if you ask yourself these questions, you will have a really clear idea of the steps you want to be taking going forward. So the first question is, what's the hard part? And he says, which part of your work, if it suddenly got much better, would have the biggest impact on the outcome that you seek? You know?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can either answer the question or just tell me what you think about it.
Ponder it. Yeah, the business is simple when you allow it to be, and there is a flow, but there is also things in business that are really important to get really good at, and often they're the hard things.
Yeah.
So for many entrepreneurs that I see, it is showing up on a regular basis, like this, being visible, like this, and also it's selling. They are often quite good at their area of expertise and their modality. They're very good at that, but nobody might know that if we can't have customers. So that is often the hard part, I find, for people.
Yeah. I mean,
And it
this
was
question is interesting to me because I think one of the issues around actual failure, like a business that doesn't succeed, is because we all tend to avoid the things that are super hard, or we do them as little as possible.
yes,
And so by
exactly.
answering this question, like what is the hard part and how can you address it in a way, like what if it got better? Like what would that do for your business?
Mm,
And then keep
mm,
going. Like, and so how can you make it better? How can you get it better? What are the things that you can do here? The next question has to do with how are you spending your time? It's very related. So, what are you doing each day? And how do you document that? And how do you hold yourself to be accountable to yourself, to your family, to your clients, your customers? How are you spending your time? And I think that's a really good one too. Again, it goes back to like tracking data, like just keeping track. And I know for myself, like
yeah,
one of the ways that I keep myself in line is committing to things like this.
yes,
Nothing like saying, I scheduled a live stream and it goes live at this particular time. And then, like, now we're doing this together. So I have to be here because you're going to be here. And then when you bring in a guest, even
yes,
more, like the guest is coming. So now we really have to show up. Not to mention that we're building an audience and we are here. Our intention is to show up for anyone who is watching, everyone who comes, all of that. And
mm,
you can set yourself up for a certain kind of success in terms of being consistent by, this is a way to keep track of your time. Like, okay, I'm going to put it in the calendar And this means
Yeah,
that I have to do it at this time.
100%. And being consistent at the effective things that take the business forward, not just being busy for busy's sake. Because, this business about being online and suddenly I've lost an hour on social media in the deep dive of wherever that goes. It needs to be effective stuff in your business. And you're absolutely right. Live streaming, you know, building some audio, building things in your businesses that can actually keep going round and around when you're asleep. It's pretty impactful, and you do that day after day. All of a sudden, as I say to all of my clients, all of a sudden you've got 300 pieces of, across the year, you've got 300 pieces of fantastic content. Go back over those and what's been the most impactful. What are the pieces of content that people are really loving from you? That's an amazing amount of research. All of a sudden, we all know how quickly the last year went, even though in some ways it might have gone slow.
Right?
It's gone.
Right. So the next two questions kind of go together. One is, what do you need to know? Like, what are things you need to explore and be learning about and maybe getting better at? And what's the scary part? So you can, it's
Awesome.
it's pretty easy to make a list of, okay, here's things I need to know about. But then go look at it again, and what are the things you're going, oh my gosh, this is super scary.
Mm.
And that's just a good, like, it's just an internalized thing of like, okay, so this thing is something that I need to pay attention to because it's scary. And
That's right.
because it's scary, I might not do it. Or I might,
Exactly
hide.
right. And knowing it and doing it are two different things. So is it Socrates that said, the knowing is in the doing. You've got to do it, and you've got to flex your muscles on things that are scary so that you can powerfully understand what's really most important. Now, quite often people will say to me, I tried that, it didn't work. And I'll often say, well, how long did you try that for? Oh, at least 3 days. So of this expectation of thinking that you're going to be good at something that, one, you find scary, two, you need to do, you see someone else do it with ease and grace, and you think that you can pick it up just as well that quickly, it's really being extremely tough on yourself, but also tough on the system, because there's so few things that make a business go well, and they're the impactful things. There are extras, but there's skill set. There's a skill set and a mindset that is very common amongst successful entrepreneurs. You can sort of see it. They're in different countries. They look different to each other. I look a bit different to Brad, don't I? But there's consistent things that are done well to achieve, and you will resist them because they won't feel that great at the start. They just won't feel that great at the start. It's a little bit like when we're all going to perhaps be, well, I'm a bit of a fan of sport, when we're all going to perhaps be watching the Olympics coming up in a few weeks, and people will think, oh, I can do that. And then you go and try it, and you're not very good. You're not very good. So you've got to keep on flexing your muscles on those things. They're really, really, really poignant and amazing questions. And I think they can be applied to lots of different areas of life as well. Apply those into a relationship setting or into a business setting, and then into what you want to enjoy in your, or how you want to enjoy your personal time. They're great.
Yeah. So last question is it worth it? So when you're imagining this new project that you're taking on, this new thing that you're going to do, this new experiment that you're going to run, you do want to take a look at it and decide, look at these first four questions and see
Mm.
where they lie, and then decide, is this thing that I'm about to undertake, is it worth it? Is it going to be something that I'm
Mm.
willing to do given any of the downsides? And I'm going to go back to what James Altucher said about this and how to run a good experiment. And his criteria had to do with, it needs to be simple. Like, it needs to have the quality, like whatever you decide you're going to do, you need to figure out, okay, what's the simplest version of this, that I can
Mm.
create? Like, people talk about, creating a minimum viable product. And if you're
Yeah.
doing something online, telling people about the product and selling the product way before you create it so that you get a good idea of whether anybody's interested. And
Yeah.
so these are ways to make your thing simple. And then the other two criteria have to do with, is there a huge risk to doing this? Like, if you do the thing, are you stretching so far that you run the risk of totally crashing and burning? Like, in his case, losing all your money, which he was able to
Yeah.
do a couple of different times. And then the last one is, so minimize that. Like, do things that have no downside
Yeah.
and or very little downside. And then the other side of that, of course, take on new projects, new experiments, new things that you're going to be trying to do that have the potential for a very big upside that you're
Yeah.
looking at as going, oh, this could, like, if it's working, if it's going to go well, it's going to go really, really well. I mean, this is this,
Yeah.
and you can get all excited about that.
Mm. Totally agree. And if I was to use that and lay that across my own foray into online business 11 years ago, I had the option to go very, very heavily into debt and open a gym or a chiropractic office or a wellness center, those types of things. I'd owned those businesses before. I was also very aware of the costs involved, both time and money, and the risks involved in opening up something like that. I decided to put my energies into building online businesses without any technical knowledge whatsoever. I was barely even able to open my bank accounts online or send an email. It was very rare that you got any of that from me. I was very heavily into the marketing and promotion of the other offices that we owned, and also the delivery of services, the public relations, the extending the clients, selling, all of those sorts of things. So here we are. That to me says that, to me it was, is it worth it? Absolutely. I need to create a business that can actually keep paying me into my old age, and or I could sell, which is the online space. But 11 years ago, it was very unusual to start pulling together online programs. I had to teach people how to be online. Now, at the moment, you guys have got the advantage that people are quite used to this now online. So it's really about showing up for them. So even less downside in expanding these businesses. So, really, there's so much expansion possible and far more. And I've achieved far more than I ever thought was even possible for me as a coach at that time, but also beyond that. So you're making a decision based on where you're at now. And of course, what you're needing as you move forward is a different level of thinking, all the time. Hence why we're really building into this community much, much more, because you need support around this. As you grow, the business grows. The level of thinking that got you here today is not the level of thinking that will get you to the next spot. So it's really important to ask, and keep asking those questions. I think they're really good. I'd add another little question that I do with all of my clients all the time, and that is, in all honesty, is it worth it? In all honesty, where do I need to build my skills? In all honesty. So it sort of asks them to get really, 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 really super, super honest. But I think the premise is that you that you, if you're going to answer well, you're being honest with yourself anyway.
That's great. I love that. Okay, well,
Mm.
we are definitely at the end of the half hour here. So uh, I would say, the takeaway here is that when it comes to facing the specter of failure, there's a couple of ways to look at it. One is all failure isn't bad. Like there's this whole strategy and practice of if you are wanting to, like James Altucher, get ahead, skip the line, go forward more rapidly than the 10,000 hour route, then doing these experimental things, taking on a new project, making sure that it works for you, use those questions to determine the criteria of how you're choosing, and run an experiment expecting that it may not work, with that expectation, and that it's okay. Like if it doesn't go as planned, if it doesn't go the way you expected, you have learned something really, really valuable. And so when you re-experiment, when you re-engineer what you're doing, you're increasing your chances for success. And every time you do this, your chances for success continue to increase. And this
Mm.
is, in fact, how you shorten the time frame and beat the odds and
Yeah,
achieve the level of success that you are actually wanting, which of course includes serving your audience extremely well.
exactly.
So that's what we're after here.
That's it.
And
It's terrific. Give yourself some time, I think, too. So don't just give up too early. So give yourself some time and really dig in and lean into people who've done it before you. Ask questions, ask a lot of questions. Um, give yourself some time there. And also, what I'm finding at the moment, just a little bit of grit goes a long way. Work hard. So I'm known to my peers in the coaching world as the consistency queen, and I'm being consistent at doing the effective things most of the time, all of the time. What is it? I fail 60%, 100% of the time. What is it? It's sort of like I have to keep on doing these effective things daily to get to where I want to go. So make sure that you really know what they are and show a little bit of grit around it. We've got a world that wants to be comfortable at the moment. We flick a switch and the television comes on and there's 3,000 programs that you don't want to watch. Food's delivered to the door. Um, it's all getting a bit comfortable, but business, we need to show a little bit of grit and stick to itness to get you the results in your business that you're really, really wanting. And then, boom, lots of people are helped around the world.
yeah, so actually I have a question from Andy. Interesting. We might as well take this. Thanks for the question, Andy. He says, "What mistakes have you made? Any regrets?" Do you want to tackle this, or I've made many mistakes.
Do I want to start? I think, let me think. I I can tend to, really take the bull by the horns and not want to give up. So at times I've probably worked way too long hours, really trying to understand all the things in the online space, especially in that first year of really skill building. As actually me and YouTube were best friends because at that time I really struggled to find a really good coach to lean into that spoke about business and online business in a way that I understood at that time. I wasn't a digital marketer. I didn't understand a lot of that tech stuff, so I really had to work quite hard. So I think that was my biggest mistake then. I probably under quite a lot of stress, I worked 16-hour days. So if I wasn't with my children, I was building and building business and doing very well, doing better than I actually realized. So had I had an ally at that time, I might have calmed down a little bit. So I think that, because you've got to be careful of burnout. Yeah, so I think that was that biggest one initially, that I would have taken a day off here and there. A
Yeah,
whole
I
day.
totally agree with that part.
Mm,
I had I've made that same mistake in terms of being super dedicated and focused on work and my business to the neglect of relationships and family and other parts of life. And I now structure my time and my day entirely differently than I ever did in the past. It's a whole new thing, and
mm,
it feels really good. And in fact, I'm working really hard at really creating balance between how much time do I work and how much time do I do the things that I just want to be doing. And
yes.
fortunately, some of the work I do is like that, but it can't be all that. And so, anyway, clearly that was a mistake. Another thing that I guess I'll talk about in terms of a mistake is there's in a number of ways, especially several years ago, things that were opportunities that came my way that weren't particularly hard to do, but I just didn't take, to do them. Like in terms of content creation, I made a video, my very first video on YouTube got 250,000 views.
Mm,
Boom. And I was like, well, that's cool. And this is back in, I probably like really early, like YouTube was quite young. I don't, and like, I don't remember, it was like 2007, maybe 2008, somewhere in there.
yeah.
And so I saw that, and I remember talking to a few different friends saying, wow, look, I did this video, and look, it got all these people are watching it. I don't even know like where that's amazing. And
Mm,
and then I never did anything else. Like years went by.
yeah.
I didn't have any
Yeah.
intention of developing a channel. I didn't have any intention of, any number of things. Like I just thought, that was a
Mm,
fluke or whatever. And I never like followed through on that at all, which when I think back on it now, in terms of if there's a regret at all, it would be, oh my gosh, if I had approached YouTube with the half of the intention that I have now, I would have been
yeah.
very early and been able to, increase or attract a very large following and have been able to ride that out, for the last
It's a great,
more than
great,
one
great
decade.
example. Yeah, great example. I find my clients often have huge opportunities right on their laps, and I'll often say, "You realize you can do this and make this happen and expand this," and they'll often say, "Oh, it's not really an area I'm interested in." I said, "But your marketplace is right there and ready to go." So, and then that's another big mistake I think that people make, is that when business is simple, we, as the leader and the entrepreneur and the creative entrepreneur, often get more bored quicker than the marketplace because we know it so well. So our that looking for stimulation in our businesses is not always good business, if that makes sense. So I find that a lot, where success is really leaving clues for my clients, and then just not taking a run with that to really expand all of that, because it's not how they've seen where they want to spend, time in their business. And there is this idea that our businesses all need to be heart centered. Sometimes business is just business, so, and you can do your heart centered work, or, legacy in a different realm, perhaps, and I don't think that's um, considered enough. And there's a big pressure for people to um, keep being stimulated by their own business. And it is very much an alive thing. I talk about ageless body as her and she. She is something, and I think that's important. But yeah, for you to be so in it that you don't see the opportunities of expansion, that's where you need great, leaders, coaches, mentors help you see these things.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we should probably call it good. This has been
Yeah.
a really good start, and you guys can look forward to lots more coming your way. And thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Linda, for being here at the start of your day. And for
Thank
everyone
you.
else, you can look for us, find the live stream show at thelivestreamshow.com, and you can download all of these episodes to your phone and binge listen to the entire archive to your heart's content.
Love it. Love it.
All right, so I'm going to say goodbye. So long, everyone. See you next
Thanks,
time.
everybody.